By not talking about like different, nationalities of people doesn't mean they don't exist. It does generate conversations. You're like, yeah, it could be easy to talk about a gay person. We actually don't know their perspective on like if they know gay people or not, or if they think the joke is like so outside of pocket that they're like, oh, this is funny because this is not what gay people are like. If you know any gay person, you would think this is crazy that I'm saying this, and that's what might make it funny, right? But I think if like we do a lot to shut people down on a lot of like things that we're worried about, like that's not the right way to say it, but we're not doing a better job to educate, rather than be like, hey, don't talk about gay people, don't talk about homeless people, don't talk about unhoused people, don't do this. Like, here's the way to do it, or let's find better ways.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with like what's the butt of the joke, right?
Yeah.
And like, because so much about comedy it does end up being about status, and like you kind of go to a comedy show. Sorry, this is like getting really high concept about this, right? But if you think of like, oh, you made me laugh because you made me feel like my status is better than something else, right? And so what's really great is like if you're making fun of, I don't know, let's say you make fun of the president of the United States, pretty safe target, right? Mm-hmm. Just because it's like, if you do something that makes me feel in some way superior to someone who's like that high status, I feel good about myself. I laugh, Mm-hmm. But if we're just doing that about people who I'm already clearly above, then it just kind of feels like gross in a way. It's like, yeah, we are so much better than those losers, It's like, well, yeah, those people are actually really struggling. We should be helping them, not laughing at them. But I do see what you're saying too about like excluding people from a conversation doesn't help. But I think, I've seen straight comedians do jokes about gay people that are very funny, or involve gay people. But I've also seen like, I saw a joke where part of the premise was like, I'd feel a little weird if my son was gay. And it's just like, and like, it wasn't really explained. It was just like something the audience took as fact, and it was like, that's pretty sad. Like, you just said that and you're kind of like purporting that, Yeah. And anytime there's like a false stereotype or something like that you like, I think there can be harm done if you're helping spread ideas that are harmful.
Yeah. No, super controversial. Like I'm trying to be careful on like how I even comment on this. And I'm sure you are as well. But like seeing like people having these conversations in general, like, okay, like I would never wish for my son to be gay. There's a lot of people that feel that way, and like that's something that people are having conversations on. I think it starts to generate conversations. Like some of them could be negative, some of them could be positive, some of them are going to come in to defend people. But there's some comedians that are like in good faith, like maybe like I haven't seen his latest show, but like Matt Rife, right? And he's like getting destroyed,
Yeah,
and like I feel like he kind of like did almost like what I did, because I have dark humor, and I was like, it's just double down rather than like, okay, I'm sorry. You're a comedian and you're trying to be funny, and especially if you feel uncomfortable and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going. Like you're like, oh, these guys should make jokes this way about gay people, or you should do it this way, you should do that way. Like that's like telling an artist how to be an artist, Like there's gonna be like many different ways, and then I guess you can separate it like, were there negative intentions here, or or is it positive, lighthearted, jokes,
Mm-hmm.
Like are we really trying to like death to America or death to gays, or something like that?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I wanted to like show, like, bring light to, because like you're seeing it with a lot of other things, like even outside of comedy. And where my conversations get started is like like drag queens and performers and trans and all these things that the gay community and the LGBTQ plus community is battling for, because there's a lot of things that people are not educated on, even in our own. Like I used to say passing, and I was corrected by Naja Lopez from RuPaul's Drag Race. She was like, hey, passing is not like an appropriate thing to say,
I haven't heard this. Educate me.
I haven't heard it either, and it's just like that's just like they don't want to be represented as passing, and more so of like, I am a woman, or I am whatever their terminology is. But the thing is, like, that's great, and I appreciate that, and I like being like refocused. But in order for that to happen, like, I need to be educated, and people are like, people just need to know everything. It's like, that's impossible.
Sure.
Like whatever you're working on, or that like you're going through, or you're enduring, like I would not wish any of that on anybody. I would not wish being gay on anybody. But like, you do have to help educate people on what you're going through, and those people that, you know, want to support you or will try to understand or interpret it, as long as you're nice, you know, typically. But
Yeah.
a lot of times there's a lot of hostility on like not using the right pronouns or not, you know, identifying the correct way or whatever. But it's like, people are going out of the way and they're kind of getting sick of it, I think, of like, you know, getting like, you know, people getting agitated because like they're trying to identify you or speak to you. I was like, what I'm worried about is that we're going to isolate ourselves from everyone. We're like, you know what, it's easier not to converse with someone that is a part of that community. And
Yeah.
don't you, is that not a concern for you?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people have that like feeling of like, oh, the world is like so harsh now, and probably I feel like a lot of this comes from the fact that we're interacting so much with people online now, right? And so like, one person could tweet something that's like extremely acerbic, about like, you know, use my right pronouns or I'll kill you. You know, like not that anyone says that, right? But like, let's say that is, and then that gets a bunch of retweets and stuff, and then like people envision that as like how everyone is, and you know, people are different behind a computer screen. But I think with a lot of people, on both sides of the spectrum, like if you talk to people one on one, you'll find that people are a lot more understanding. Like, I live in Seattle, which is where like pronoun use is heavy. There's a lot of people that use they, them. There's a lot of like, all right, if we're going to go around the circle, everyone say their name and pronoun. Like, that's a very standard like way to start.
And they're not even gay. They're like, the regular people use those pronouns.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, there are people that like feel more comfortable. Like, it's like, oh, actually, I do feel like I'm a third gender. Anyway, so many people though are like so incredibly chill about the pronouns. If you get them wrong, they're like very patient and like, oh yeah, you know, I use they, them, but don't worry about it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like my experience, I haven't dealt with a ton of like, really like, bitter or like kind of like terrible people that are like, oh, do this or you're wrong. You know, it's like, I think people understand that we're all still trying to learn and stuff like that.
Well, you're on the inside of the community, right? So like it's a little bit easier. And I think of like when you're seeing like forgetting someone's pronouns, it'd be like forgetting someone's name, you know, which is like pretty expected. You know, when you're having a conversation, you're like, what was your name again? You're like, or like, I don't know their name. Hey baby, how's it going? You know? Like what do you say when you forget someone's pronoun? Nothing. I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that. But I think it's like, when you're on the outside, like if you are like an ally, you know, like sometimes it could be really tough, you know, to like kind of like get into our community and remain in our community, and like, and I feel like we push them out, and like that to me is like something I feel like we need to do a better job at, is like helping to educate and making people feel comfortable to have conversations with us, to ask us questions, and like how does this work, or like, I know it sucks as someone that's like, you know, going through transition, or like, how did you get your makeup to look so good? Like, you're such a passing like woman. If you don't like that, like, you know, like they're not, are they saying it out of hate? Like, just take a second and think about it. Like, did they mean this in a negative way? And if not, like, work to help educate them. We all have to do our part, I think, to help this grow.
Yeah.
And like it sucks because a lot of the gay community is like done with it. They're like, we got gay rights, we can get married now, which is, it's actually being threatened, you know, in this in real time. But you know, like, we're like, we don't have to worry about anybody else. Like, forget the trans people, forget everybody else that's fighting for something. Like, we got what we wanted. Like, but no, you have to keep going, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tangent.
No, it's interesting to see your thoughts on this. I also like kind of along those same lines. I think it's very important to feel comfortable being the only blank in the room. So for my example, right, like oftentimes I'm the only gay person in the room at a stand-up show. And like that can be a space where I'm like, oh, I just don't want to go back. Well, it's like, well, actually, this is how you start the education of like, just, it's like, oh, it's so clearly these people have never met a gay person. It's like, okay, well, let them meet one. Like, I'm right here. Like, hello, let's talk, you know?
Nice to meet you, man, true. Hey, guys.
I do kind of have fun with that. Like, sometimes I'll like roll up to an open mic and I'll be like, hey, boys. Like, knowing I'm the only gay guy there. Like,
yeah, which is crazy, right? Like, this is exactly what I thought gay people were. Because like a lot of people maybe have an experience being around a gay person. You're like, be friends with gay people. they don't know if they're going to advance on them or what it's going to be. Like, they don't know the situation, and we haven't told them otherwise, you know?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
sometimes we have a lot of people that fall in love with their gay friends, or their straight friends. So gay people, stop falling in love with your straight friends.
I will never stop. I will never stop.
You're part of the problem. You're a part of the problem, right? They're trying to learn about us, and you're like, I love you. I can't be around you. You're just too great. You're
Oh
too
my
great of a
God.
person. So kind of going back to, like, you know, all this, like, these separations of gays, and, you know, allied communities. I'm curious, like, when you started, like, understanding, like, or thinking that you might be gay or bi or whatever you identify as, like, who's the first person that you consoled in?
My dad.
Really?
Yeah. My dad had. Okay, so I grew up very sheltered, and I say that in the kind of like a, you know, if something was PG-13, my parents didn't let me watch it until I was 13. You know, it was that kind of thing where it's like
Trust the government.
it was very just by the book of like, this is what a child should know and when.
Yeah.
And I had a very good relationship with my parents,
Right.
and they really, like, usually when they gave me an order, it was for a reason.